Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another live session with the Hype Magazine. I'm your editor-in-chief, Jerry Doby, and today, I got this young lion by the name of Evander. I won't tell you what his government name is, but we always call him Evander because that's what he goes by. He is a singer, a rapper, a producer, self-taught during the pandemic, came through UCLA, and I forget the name of the specific program in UCLA, but it was a music program. It's amazing. We met him originally through a joint called Honest and very self-reflective song, an introspective song. And now um, he's returned with another amazing joint called Falling. And we're here to meet him, talk about him. Welcome, Evander.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well, man. I'm honored. You know, it's always better to be seen than viewed. That's what I say. So,
For
all
sure.
right. So, from the inside looking out, let's kick it off with since you're doing the introspective kind of music, how you see from the inside looking out, Evander, the artist.
It's so I feel like it's interesting. So like obviously Evander isn't my real name.
It's
It's my
popping up on the screen. It's definitely not your real name.
yeah. It's my latest project name, and I feel like it's basically the culmination of all the things that I've like done in my life put together. I've had a weird musical journey that you wouldn't have like expected. So
Mm,
when I started playing music, it was because I was like really obsessed with Jimi Hendrix, like specifically. I was really into that style of the kind of blues rock. And that's all I did as like a kid. And then at one point I discovered fingerstyle guitar, like acoustic guitar, where you kind of play the part of like a whole band with just like one guitar, like you're just one guy. And I got really into that for a while. And then I started playing pop music and singing. And then I started doing only country music. And I spent like
mm.
maybe 3 or 4 years doing only country music, which is funny because now everyone's doing country music. I did the opposite thing. I switched around. I did country and now more pop music. And I just feel like I'm combining kind of aspects of all those things now. So the Evander project is like fingerstyle guitar mixed with kind of some of the intensity of that like blues rock and roll stuff I used to do, mixed with like the storytelling aspect of like the country that I did. So
Mhm.
it's a big culmination thing that I've got going on right now.
So, with this juxtaposition of all these genres put into one melting pot, to coin the American term, right? Um, do you find yourself confused at all? Like when you're creating in the creative process, you're like, this really sounds good. Can I make it work with this? Is there any kind of agonization that goes on when you're creating?
Sort of. I feel like there actually more used to be than there is now. Back when I was working more under my like own name and making like country and pop and stuff like that wasn't such kind of glitchy hip hoppy style pop. I feel like I tried to create the Evander project to kind of move away from that. I was like, man, everything that I make, I can't get away from feeling like I need it to be like this authentic version of myself. And what even is that? Like what even am I? Like I'm this fluid thing. I can be whatever I want to be. So I'm gonna be Evander and I'm gonna make whatever I want to make. And so it's been actually pretty freeing to become this new thing. I feel like it's been great.
Okay. UCLA music program, that's an insanely difficult, high-end program. And we're talking about working with, actively creating Grammy Award winners and engineers, come on, bro. You got cats in there that work with who? Everybody at Cat and a Dog, Prince, from rock to hip hop to country to pop to adult contemporary. Um, yeah, I'll be making fun of adult contemporary. I'm sorry. I'm old and I shouldn't, but um, it's a very serious program. So, how did you find yourself, fitting in? Was there a transitory period where you had maybe a little imposter syndrome before it clicked on you that I really belong here?
I feel like for sure it was a weird experience. I kind of just felt like I was jumping into like the deep end of a pool going to UCLA. It was a big change from where I was before because I'm from originally Sacramento, California, and I was
Okay.
playing like and like mostly fingerstyle guitar without singing or anything before I moved to Southern California and moved to, went to college for music. And
Mm-hmm.
I challenged myself to go to college and just tell everybody that I was already a singer, even though I
Mm-hmm.
was a singer. I was just like, all right, I really want to sing. I think I'm just gonna go there and act like I am. And so that was like another added layer of kind of like feeling like I was doing something that was completely new for myself. I was becoming a singer, I was becoming an artist, and then at the same time, I was like with all these amazing musicians for the first time. I was like, whoa, this isn't Sacramento anymore. It was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big difference. Big difference. Um, but I mean, you went to school in a nice part of town. It's, not like USC down in the middle of South Central Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Both of them are great programs. I'm a Trojan fan, obviously, but um, great program. UCLA doesn't UCLA has the Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre school, right? As
I'm
well,
not sure, but that actually does. I don't know. It
or is
doesn't
that
sound.
USC? It's at one of the LA colleges. So big deal. Was there a benchmark moment when music just grabbed you and said, "You belong to me. I own you, and you're going to do what I say and create music"?
Definitely. Actually, sadly, that's it's not a very happy story, my story with
Ah,
that. But I think it's an important story, at least for me. Uh, I've struggled a lot with mental health throughout my life, and that's pretty. You can definitely listen to my music and hear that that's a struggle that I've had. It's something I talk about a lot. And when I was 16, it was probably like the kind of the darkest time I've ever had, just in terms of depression. And I really feel like music was what helped me like lift out of that. It was like when I was playing my guitar, I could feel like I was really in the moment doing something, like flowing through like this state of music. It wasn't like I needed to like think about anything else. It was like the only thing that completely took up my mind, and like I didn't need to be depressed or whatever else was going on with me.
mm,
And like, two things happened with that. One, I was like, man, I want to just do this as much as possible. Like this is going to be my life, hopefully. And two, I was like, I think music saved my life. I should dedicate
mm.
my life to the thing that it saved my life.
Very serious statement there, young lion. You know, music saved my life, and I'm listening to the timbre of your voice, and it's very serious. It reminds me of some of the fellows I came back from Afghanistan with. You know, that kind of internal strife. You know what I mean? Now, me, I'm a Gemini. There's 36 of me. I'm always in strife because everybody's weighing in at whatever time it wants to. I can't sleep, all that stuff. But creatives as a collective, it is one of the stories that we hear about, you know, the music making a difference, not only for them personally, but like literally saving their lives and giving them something to cling to. So your career is young. You're just starting to explode. Um, amazing musical artisan. I'm gonna call you artisan. That's the formal term. We get fancy around here sometimes. Um, how do you feel, or are you still developing what you feel is the voice of Evander, Drew? Whichever is, you're dealing with that day.
I think I definitely am. I would say I'm going to be probably developing that for the rest of my life. I hope that I never, stagnate and just become one thing forever. I feel like the beauty of something like music is that it can, never be the same twice. Like I came up in a really improvisatory kind of musical environment. Like I took lessons in a jazz kind of setting for a long time, and I don't play any type of jazz music at all these days. But I feel like the idea that music is this really kind of in the moment thing that just happens, in that moment, you're sharing it with your audience maybe, but it's something that's really like super just coming out of your heart in that one moment. It means that I
Mm.
feel like I shouldn't like stick to one thing forever. I shouldn't like, write a good guitar solo and be like, that's going to be my guitar solo forever. I'm going to, play it different every show because I'm going to evolve.
Hmm. Evolution in the craft. I know that the formal education kind of maybe puts you in a box and whatnot, and just gives you the basic tools, advanced tools, actually, coming from UCLA, but still within the framework of your own mind and your own artistry. You got to still navigate that maze and work through it. And, there's consistency in, the timbre and intonation between honest and falling. But the part that made me lean forward was just really appeared to be like one of my kids bearing their soul, saying, "Yo, this is going on with me, pops. And I lean forward, I'm going, this young man has gone through a lot. And, you're in Los Angeles, young. Navigating Los Angeles is confusing. Coming down from Sacramento to LA, you'd be like, okay, somebody's sleeping on my stoop and I'm trying to get to work. Oh, Roger that. Okay. Or crazy stuff like parking on the other side of the street on every other day. Like, oh, Tuesdays you can't park here, you get a ticket. Thursdays you can't park here. That kind of stuff. As a young person, you know, dealing with yourself honestly, uh, and it's really not a play on the song, but I did like honest. Um, and falling is painful, but at the same time, you deposit yourself safely at the end of the journey on that song. How did you work through it? Because obviously this one took you emotionally through some changes. How long did it take to put it together? And then, how did you end it the way that you did?
So let's see. Well, it took a really long time to write that song, I guess. It didn't take that long to write in terms of the actual amount of time I spent writing. I just took a really long break, like halfway through writing the song. So I wrote the first part when I was actually going through something really tough in my life. I was in like a rough relationship that just wasn't the right relationship for me. It was the same subject as the song Honest. And then I just kind of like I said, I was talking about earlier today, I just left the song for like maybe 4 years and I didn't like touch it at all or even listen to it or think about it at all. And I went back and found the song again and I was like, whoa, this is a great song. And also because of the way that the music industry works now, kind of shorter songs are mainstream. And I was like, I can make this into one of those cool like shorter songs. It's got all the parts. I just need to write kind of a longer middle section. And that's what I ended up writing these days, or like, in the present time. I wrote the whole like long middle kind of hip hopier style verse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and the last thing that I wrote of the song is actually something that you don't hear at all in the song. I wrote an entire rap verse for the song that I ended up just recording over itself maybe like 10 or 15 times whispered. And then I kind of combined them all into like this weird kind of amalgamation of different voices being whispered that like rose up out of like the kind of cacophony sound to become a riser to kind of like lead into the next section. You can hear it in the like end of the verse. There's like kind of like a riser of like whispers, and that like rap verse is really dark. Like the thing that I talked about there is it's darker than the actual song.
Mm.
And that I feel like was the thing that tied it all together for me. Writing that was like really intense, and it was like the thing that kind of helped me get over the whole thing that the song was about in the first place. And I wrote that as I recorded it, so that was like a couple months ago now.
Oh, he pulled a Jay-Z and a Tupac. I'm writing it and get in the booth, you know, and that's pretty cool talent to be able to, pull a song together on the fly, you know.
Thank you.
That's a unique talent. That's the kind of stuff that makes people last a long time, being fluid like that. I feel I don't make music, I don't play music or any of that stuff, but just watching the history, when Miles Davis was making stuff up when he was doing his little exploratory thing and nobody understood what the heck he was doing. But now those are some of the most essential albums and pieces, as people sit down and take your time. When you sit down and take your time, what is the most amazing part about making music for you now that you're maybe not so depressed? And I'm not making fun of you, bro. That is very serious to me.
Sure.
And respecting the intestinal fortitude it takes to work your way and deal with that. Like I said, I've got some teammates from the other side of my life that still have those things. So what is the most amazing thing for you about creating it?
Well, I feel like I keep talking about, I feel like I like to be very fluid and kind of in the moment. I feel like that can change, day to day even. But I feel like my very favorite part about being a musician, creating music, is definitely like performing in an improvisatory way. So when I'm like live performing, but it's not something that I've planned at all. It's just something that I'm like completely making up in that moment. And I feel like there's this cool feeling of like I'm kind of riding on the seat of my pants, and the audience can tell, and I can tell that they can tell, and we kind of have this like unique moment of meeting each other in that, and feeling like we're just experiencing this kind of once in a lifetime thing. And not once in a lifetime as in it's like so amazing and special. Just once in a lifetime as it's like the only time it's going to happen. It's like such a temporary thing. I feel like that's the coolest part about music. And
So I would take it that you've learned to really be present in the moment.
yeah, I feel like that's the biggest thing music gives to me too. It makes me feel present in the moment.
Okay. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. If you had to, and I know your catalog's not massive yet, um, but it will be, and we'll be talking about you for years to come, I'm sure.
Thank you, man.
But if you had to pick a song to introduce the Evander portion of Drew to a new listener, do you have one from your growing catalog that you might say this is best intro to me?
I feel like for a long time I would have said that was the song Honest. I feel like the Honest is my kind of like I was like, wow, this is really exactly what I meant to create with this song. I feel like this really summarizes the sound I'm looking for really well. But I feel like lately I've kind of felt like I've been changing. I feel like Falling might be that song for right now. I feel
Hmm.
like Falling to me feels like, I don't know, really kind of like emotionally jarring in a way that my other songs aren't. And I feel like that's what I want to be. I want to be this cathartic kind of thing. I want people to listen to my music and feel like they can release the bad feelings that they have in a way that like, afterwards feels like positive, feels like cleansed kind of. I feel like that's what I want people to feel when they listen to the music.
I like it. I like it. So you're reaching out. Do you have thus far a highlight of maybe a fan interaction where somebody just said, you know what, you really met me where I was. You really helped me. If you feel comfortable with sharing it, maybe highlight it a little bit.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky to have had many things that I feel like I would like, remember in that way. I feel like the one standout thing to me is it was just like a really small little kind of environment when I was just playing an acoustic guitar, and it was maybe kind of like a 30 person room or something like that. And I remember it was one of my first times ever playing songs that I had actually written myself, because I used to cover songs before I had, you know, like grown up the courage to perform the song that I wrote myself, and finally I did. And I remember this one guy came up to me at the end and he's like, I just want to let you know, like, I cried during your song. And I was like, really? Like, that's, oh my God. And I feel like a lot of people would hear that and they'd be like, wow, that's really sad. Like, you made somebody cry during your song.
Mm.
I feel like it was definitely like that feeling of like emotional release. I'm really happy that I was able to like give him, it seemed like he was happy about it. It was like, he was like, wow, that really touched me. And now I feel like really, happy. And it was a
I
cool
like I
moment.
said, I don't make music, but as a journalist for years, it's always cool when somebody says, "Oh, you wrote that piece on da 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 da." Like, wow, I didn't know. So you basically help someone meet themselves or learn something about themselves through your music at that time, or you touch them and their memories flooded back. And I don't know about you, but people, those of us who are not too tough for themselves, don't mind a little cry because you always feel better when you turn that loose.
Exactly.
So that's an amazing, beautiful, story. Um, Man to man, someone says, "You made me cry," and I'm happy that I got an opportunity to experience that through you right now. I don't, we won't talk about if you had a long, extended conversation. That doesn't matter. But the fact is that that kind of thing must energize you, must inspire you to dig deeper, maybe. Because isn't it a huge trust factor to create music and stories the way that you do and then share them like that?
Yeah, massive. I was so freaked out the first time that I ever showed somebody, songs that I've actually written myself. It's completely different to show people music you wrote compared to, music that you're just, playing or singing. Although I have to say, singing, I feel like in general is a pretty vulnerable thing. At least
Mm.
for being a little kid and just being really afraid to sing in front of people, it was kind of a big barrier for me. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
I remember freezing doing my little Easter speech at church. I was stuck. I'm like, that's way too many people. Doing it in front of mom was okay, but why are these 200 some odd people looking at? Or it felt like that. It probably wasn't that much, but first Easter speech. So I kind of understand, but that has to be. Also, maybe one of the exciting exploratory things is how far could I go? How far can I engage with myself? And maybe you're making it for yourself, and that is probably the safest way to do it, but you're sharing it. You're not creating for other people, you're creating for you. Am I on track? Is that like the
So I feel like I'm also lucky in that I feel like the things I like are oftentimes what other people like. Like I feel like musicians will sometimes say things like that they need to really sacrifice what they like, like about their music to like make other people like it. And I feel like honestly, like the reason people like my music seems to be the same reason I like my music. I don't really feel like it sacrifices a piece of myself to like please people's ears. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll come to a point where I feel more like that, but at least right now I don't feel that way.
I hope that you never become so jaded that you lose your authenticity or, so immersed in the machinations of the industry that you submit, you know, to some of the overbearing ogres that are in the music industry. Yes, I said it, I'll say it louder. Y'all are ogres. Anyway, um, I'm just cracking up. I'm sorry. I'm entertaining myself, and I shouldn't be. I'm on your time, and I apologize. Thank you for putting up with my shenanigans, man. Look, I would like to know. Obviously, you didn't go to UCLA out of your own pocket. You had a scholarship, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that kills my question, but I'll rephrase it and say, well, what was your go-to meal during your college journey?
I gotta say, actually, I love talking about this because UCLA has the number one ranked like school food of any college in the country, and people
Mm,
get jealous whenever I talk about what the type of food was that we got to have like on a daily basis. So, I'm like, so the name Evander actually comes from Greek myth. And the reason why that's like significant is my dad's Greek. I'm kind of connected to my Greek heritage. I'm not like full Greek or anything, and I don't speak Greek, but I like to, eat Greek food and things like that. And there was a whole dining hall at UCLA dedicated only to Mediterranean food. And I was
mm,
like, it's amazing. It was great. It was like some of the foods that I would have on like Greek holidays at home, but I got to
mm.
have it when I wanted to. It was super like homey and great.
I liked him early on. My college, I was on nacho cheese Doritos and Orange Crush. That was, I was struggling, bro. I couldn't even afford a 15-cent ramen. You know what I mean? I'm like, but that was the fun part. You feel me? So like the exploration, making it happen. So you're making it happen as a business person. People are using the tracks that you're building, you know, and so now you got not just your own artistry, but now you got publishing considerations and all that good stuff, that bread, that mailbox money. Um, what makes you smile the most about the business portion of the music business?
I feel like one thing that I encountered when I first started kind of working in the music industry was like people that kind of like, acted like they would know what they're talking about that totally didn't know what they were talking about. And I feel like one thing that makes me really smile is that there are people who totally know what they're talking about that actually, help you, that are nice, good people. Like the music industry totally isn't only bad people. Like I'm working with Paul Ring these days, and he's just incredible. Like he knows the music industry inside and out. And I feel like he's just so nice and helpful in general. And I feel like, it's great to have people like that. Another thing that makes me, really smile about the industry is how like fast things can move. Like I feel like you can be really bored one day sitting in your like apartment, and then the next day you're like writing a song for a movie or something. You're like, wow, I didn't expect to have this plan at all. It just came up out of nowhere. Here I am. It's great.
Wow. Okay. You had an amazing collaboration with a young artist by the name of Megan Jade on Ghost. Incredible. We're not going to go too deep into it. Y'all go look it up. This boy is no joke. That's all I'm going to say. Sonically delivered on all three songs that I've heard that you've participated in. Sonically, you know, if I made music, I'd be like, you can't really say nothing about that, you know. Um, and so that leads me to an interesting question. As a creative, as the singer, the songwriter, the producer, and as a music program graduate at UCLA, Are you still able to vibe out to music as a consumer, as a straight fan, or do you find yourself analyzing all the time because you've got those three different perspectives?
That's a super good question. I feel like it can totally get in the way of listening to music to make music. Like you can, listen to music and just start thinking like, man, I wonder how they made that weird little sound in that part and just like agonize about that for the entire song and then forget to like listen to the meaning of the song or whatever and be like, I got to start this song over. But I feel like you can always tap back into that. At least if, I mean, I guess not, the general person you necessarily, I don't know about them, but I can. I can definitely tap back into the feeling of like, being really in the moment with music. I feel like if I couldn't, there would be no reason to make music. So hopefully I
Mm,
never.
okay. Young man, is there anything that you wanted to cover that I may have neglected? Upcoming appearances or anything like that? I know that should be a full-length project coming at some point. I don't want to put any pressure on you.
So let's see. I've got some songs coming out that I'm super excited about. My next song that's coming out is called In My Head. And I'm looking forward to that one because it's got like a bunch of distorted, like electric, like rock style guitar in it, which I feel
Mm,
like is pretty cool. It's kind of like, getting back to my roots in a totally different way here. And I think that it's gonna be a cool kind of, in the same vein as my current music, but also with this kind of aspect of rock and roll in it, which I think could be a cool thing. And I'm also producing a lot of music for the artist you just talked about, Megan Jade. And she's got a really exciting song coming out that I produced called Satellite,
mm.
which is really cool because it's the first beat that I've made. Yeah, I just call it instrumental music beats at this point. It's the first, instrumental song I've made that isn't like kind of hip hop influenced in terms of its rhythms. It's a UK garage influenced, kind of like a totally different genre of beat to make. So it was really fun to make. So when that one comes out, it'll be cool. And
Okay.
those
I'm
are coming.
looking forward to it. That's dope. That's dope. Your experiment with this. So, do you think that you may have more separation and be more active as a producer moving forward? Because how many instruments do you freaking play, bro?
I feel like so I play a lot of instruments, but I play a couple instruments really well, and a lot of instruments, a little bit. I like to say I play well. I like to voice first and foremost. I'm singing as part of this project, but instrumentally, guitar is my main thing, and then every guitar-like thing I can at least somewhat play. Bass, ukulele, mandolin. I can play like a little Greek instrument called the baglamos, which is like a little Greek kind of guitar. I can play the oud, which is a Middle Eastern guitar. And then I can play percussion. I play like hand drums. I play like a drum kit, not as well as I play hand drums. I was a part of different kind of world music percussion groups in high school, so I could play like mallet keyboards, xylophone, marimba, vibraphone, glockenspiel, things like that. And then I played percussion for my school's orchestra growing up, so kind of like orchestral percussion. And then I like to pick up little fun instruments whenever I find them. So I play like the didgeridoo, the Australian instrument,
Australian. Okay.
and things like that, the harmonica, just like little instruments. But my main was really guitar and vocals, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good. That's hilarious. What your apartment has to look like with all that strewn about.
it's overrun. It's bad.
I can imagine. It'd be like me going into a candy store. I'm going to have every flavor of jelly bean throughout that they have everywhere. Yeah. So I got to respect your time. I know that you're busy and I appreciate that. Is there anything you wanted to cover that I may have neglected?
I feel like I'm not gonna lie, I think you covered all the stuff that I would have wanted to cover myself. I feel like that was a fantastic interview. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I don't do interviews, bro. I have conversations. Conversations are a bigger compliment to me.
Conversation. Let me
Yeah, that we could be friends or something. Okay, you're too young to be my friend, but you know, we could be friends. So conversation is better. Tell them where they can find you. The new single is Falling. It's out on all the DSPs. I'm presuming that we'll have a music video somewhere down the road when it's appropriate. But tell them where else they can find you, bro.
Evander Music, Evander Music on I think every platform except YouTube. But if you looked up Evander Music on YouTube, you'd probably still find me. I think it's Evander Music Official on there or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and then under Megan Jade, I'm producing all of her music right now. So everything that Megan Jade releases is something that I've produced.
Wow. Okay. Now this did catch me. Why? So honest had a period after it. So just be honest, period, all the time. Okay, great metaphor. That's your hip hop thing coming out. I know you slid that in there, right? But the name is lowercase, the titles are lowercase. Is there What is the mindset behind that?
I just feel like lowercase stuff looks kind of cool. I feel like it's not that deep of a thing necessarily, but I do have
Okay.
one song released that's uppercase. And the reason why that is it's just an acronym. It's LAX. It's about just like how hard it is to live in LA. And it's called LAX. It's really a play on like LAX girlfriend. Um, but it's just the capital LAX as the title. It's the only thing I've ever released that has capital letters in it. I'm doing a strike. We're not using capital letters.
I'm
No.
mad. I'm mad at you. Autotype don't like it, but I ain't mad at you. You recognize it as a proper noun. All right, man. I appreciate your time. Yo, everybody, the Hype Magazine live sessions, Evander. You know what I mean? Falling is the new joint. All the DSPs, go get it. I know you might go to Spotify first, but let's make sure these kids get, paid. Go to Apple, go to iTunes, download the darn joint. They invest in themselves, they put in the work. He had a scholarship, so you probably don't have a lot of student loans out there or living expense stuff that he got to pay back. But he put in the time, he put in the footwork, and he cares about the craft. Let's respect that respect of the craft. And get that brother his $1.99 or something. Come on. Till next time.
Hey, yo, what's up? This is Ice-T representing for Hype Magazine. Stop playing.
As an artist, we should reflect the time.
Why you so talented?
Because I'm black.
Why you so amazing?
Because I'm black.
It's really important that we build characters so that people understand their story matters.
2 Chainz and I both are just really into good food.
And when you know you are royalty, you will only aim in life to be royalty.
We're doing it right now. I don't give a damn what they say about me. Yes, I called your ass out. I know I shouldn't be saying this kind of.
Shout out the Hype Magazine Network.
Shout out to the Hype Magazine Network.